Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at 1125 Northeast Galloway Street here in McMinnville. I describe everything as if you are standing in the street facing the front of the house. Right now we are on the right side of the home. We're underneath the carport. We got a big 4-inch ABS clean out here sticking out of the concrete. Can't miss the thing. It's kind of here towards the back side of the carport. Anyhow, we're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. We're going to zero the foot counter out at the base of the clean out. Alright, off we go. We swap over to cast iron immediately upon access. Interesting. And then I cannot figure out why that piece of cast iron was left. That is puzzling. Anyway, ABS to cast iron, right back to ABS again. And whoever has been living here is keeping this thing crazy clean. There is zero buildup in here. I mean, this looks like brand new, never lived in construction. It's so clean. Kudos to the homeowners for not dumping all their bacon grease down the sink. That right there is exactly how you want your sewer line to look. It takes some really good habits to keep a line that clean, though. We have a Y connection there right as the line turned to start heading towards the street. We'll revisit that in a moment. Going through a belly right now, and the line did swap over to 3034 PVC pipe as we went into that. Man, that's a pretty good belly there. Just snakes and turns all over the place. Alright, coming up on a junction. That right there might be the secondary clean out. I'm going to go locate to see where I am here real quick. There is either just a severe blockage in the line, or you've got one heck of a belly. Ooh. Might have just knocked the culprit loose there. Something just busted loose in front of us. We'll see if that made any meaningful difference to how the water stands or not. But yeah, that does look like there's a at the very end of the driveway you have a steel cover plate. I believe says sewer or clean out on top of it. I believe that's where we were just at there. I'll try and verify that here at the end though. Doing a hard vertical dive here now. Dive, dive, dive. And there's the main. Alright, we're going to let the water drain off here for a minute. I'm going to pull the camera up to the top of this drop. I can't locate effectively on those verticals like that. But this right here is essentially sitting directly over top of the main here. About 85 feet in total to the main. Alright, located the camera head successfully. Line terminates out on Northeast Galloway. There's a very, very deep main out there. And where that clean out is at the end of the driveway, if you draw basically a straight line from that point to approximately the middle of the road, from that clean out on, that's basically the path the line's taking. Yeah, we're about 5 foot 6 inches deep there. So when you account for almost a near 10-foot vertical drop there, that's a seriously deep main. Probably somewhere between 13 and 15 feet deep. That's very nice of the city out here. Unless something has changed of recent, takes responsibility in the road. In fact, I believe the responsibility here starts at the right-of-way, a little bit further back than the curb. Not 100% positive on that, but I know it's between the right-of-way and the street curb. Alright, so we do indeed have some standing water here. And it looks like it dissipates off just after this. I gotta straighten the camera head out. I can't really locate on a bend like that, or I get kind of a wonky locate. Alright, so we are, my locate right now is just, I'm just barely past that cover plate at the end of the driveway. You'll see a little red dot on kind of the street side of that clean out. I had to push past it, like I was saying before. You can see how the water persists. It's hard to tell if it stops right at that joint on that turn there. You can see there's a little bit of a gap between it, kind of at the top left-hand corner of the screen. If it stops there, you know, good, but it may persist into the clean out to some extent, so that's why I've taken that marking past that point. It's very hard to know. Realistically, if you were fixing this, you'd probably want to be pulling all that up just to make sure you got it. So thus far here, we're sitting at about an inch of standing water. Obviously, we had considerably more than that during the advance out. Part of that was we had a huge, massive debris up in front of the camera that was sitting at the end of the belly there that had, I mean, dang near caused a complete blockage. The line was almost submerged at that point. I can't tell if you have concrete that got to that pipe joint there, if that's dirt. You have something definitely coming through the joint there. I just can't tell if it's dirt coming through or if it's concrete. That's a hard one there. Every now and then you'll get a situation like that where this gets done in conjunction with pouring a driveway or something of that nature. That often is an indicator, though, that your pipe joint wasn't sealed up properly. Obviously, the stuff was able to get through it, you know, assuming it was something like concrete, but it could also be another substance like dirt. I'm going to see where this transition's at here. Alright, so the line here is kind of an interesting, it's a very odd configuration, but I think some of it was done to minimize concrete repairs is my guess. The line ends up jaunting into the kind of the dirt strip to the right of the driveway that kind of separates this property from the house next door to the right. And then once you get up near the sidewalk, the line then shoots back underneath the end of the driveway. You can kind of see where the concrete's newer and older there. Anyway, part of my concern here on this one is, I mean, you can see at the very beginning of the scope why this stuff can be concerning. I mean, you had a mass of debris there that had just about caused a complete blockage and a backup. You know, my camera ended up pushing that thing through, but that is part of the concern with these bellies. So all those things put together there, this is what I'm going to recommend a repair on. If repairs are not done, granted, and the thing I never always know about these things is you know, the living activity leading up to it. If a line is used very infrequently, let's say someone used the bathroom and then left the house and never came back to it, went vacant. In a lot of cases, it's very uncommon that a single toilet flush will convey your solids from A to B all in one toilet flush. It's often in conjunction of sinks and showers and everything else draining that gets everything out to that point. So if you don't have necessarily your normal water usage going on, debris sometimes can pile up in the line, but it all chose to stop here in the standing water. And it took my camera pushing through there. You had water filling almost all the way to the top of the pipe. It was still withstanding that without breaking loose. It wasn't until the camera went through and finally pushed it through. So it does create the potential for blockages and backups to happen. It doesn't always result in that. Anyway, that's the concern with standing water. So if repairs are not done on this for some reason or another, I would recommend re-scoping at the 1 year mark. It wouldn't hurt to jet the line. You've got some rust scale in it, although the first part of the line is spotless clean. So it's not something that's going to benefit massively from jetting. What you'd be removing is this rust flake. My camera's upside down right now. You can see that water's kind of murky. There's a little bit of rust flake in there, but it's not huge chunks of stuff. I don't really know if that's contributing to much in the way of stuff stopping up in the line. But anyway, and as far as depths go, I'm getting 3 foot 3 inches deep at the start of the belly, about 3 foot 5, 3 foot 6 inches deep where the belly ends. All right. Now I've got 3 markings down: one at the start, one about in the middle, and then one looks like just barely after the belly ends. Luckily, fairly shallow. And the edge of the driveway on the right side edge, very near where the sewer line was installed, has kind of caved in. I'm not sure if that's related to the poorly compacted soil that caused the settling. It's entirely possible. I'm also a little bit concerned about this pipe joint here where the belly begins. You've got some kind of substance protruding through that. I just don't know if it's solidified concrete that's got that joint completely sealed up, or if you've got a joint there that's to some extent exposed to the ground. But if it is an exposed pipe joint that's open to the ground, that often will create for maybe one of two things. You've got a bunch of rose bushes in that spot where you could potentially get a root intrusion. The other thing that can happen when you have joints that are exposed is progressive settling due to hydro erosion. And I've known some repair guys that will pour concrete around pipe joints to help bolster them up against root intrusions. I'm not sure if that was the reason this got updated to begin with. It's possible that's the case. And then this Y connection here I'm going to locate. This one's kind of a hard one to tell what this is from. It could very easily be some kind of like a storm system connection tying in here. Something of that nature. Possible party line. I'll at least try and locate this. Alright, and actually where this is situated out here, potentially could be some kind of party line connection. This got out completely outside the carport. I'm sitting maybe 1.5 feet or so outside the right side carport wall in the side yard area. So it's feasible that could be what it is. As far as storm goes, feels a little less likely to be storm related because at least the downspouts on that right side over there are all kicked out onto the ground. I don't see any obvious underground downspouts. Doesn't mean there couldn't be some other kind of drainage system tied into it, but anyway, that's something I'd look into just to make sure there's nothing about that the city doesn't like. Alright, I'm going to go back in and turn the kitchen sink off. I actually think I may have figured out what this Y is for. It may be for the basin sink kind of laundry area at the very back right corner of the house. Alright, turn the kitchen sink off, but I still have the basin sink running right now. And the reason I thought that may have been related to the basin sink is if you look at the concrete floor back there, that drain dives into a 3-inch main line, which is the same diameter as we're wiring into right here. However, we'll have to see if this water coming from behind me dies off at all. We're going to give it another minute or so longer in case that drains a little slower. But right now, it looks like everything may be routing right through the cleanout I'm going through. So, yeah, I may not have figured out what this Y is. You know what? Now I'm kind of wondering if the cast iron piece that's in here is related to that basin sink. Yep, there it is right there. Okay. So the Y connection there is still an unknown. I was going to say, I've got no water going to the cleanout, but it sounds like I can hear water dumping in just barely in front of the cleanout. That's what it is right there. So I'm not entirely sure why this was left when everything on either side of it was updated. That's kind of a missed opportunity, although the cast iron here is still intact, still doing its job. Anyway, so you still have an unknown there with the Y connection on the right side of the house. So that's marked with a big red Y connection marking out there on the right side of the home. It's getting about 1 foot 10 inches deep, something like that. Pretty shallow there. But I would check into that, see if the city may be able to clue you into what it is, if it's a party line connection, And realistically, I'm very used to dealing with party line type stuff in Portland, where it's a really big deal. Outside of Portland, a lot of cities are pretty gentle with party lines. You've got some pretty heavy scale buildup going back here into the cast iron. You've got some, you know, this line could honestly use a jet to just flush that junk out. I would definitely re-scope the line afterwards to ensure that you have cleared all the rust out, and ideally you do that kind of cleaning with a camera in the line the whole time, so you can ensure you're getting all the rust bits out and you don't leave a giant pile of it down line. So this spot I do recommend cleaning, and that's where those rust flakes are originating from that are out in the belly. It's coming from this cast iron pipe here. That very, very short bit of plumbing here as far as the main line goes. That bathroom's just barely through this wall here. So anyway, I recommend the spot repair there from the ABS to PVC transition out to where the secondary clean out is to correct the belly. And then the other thing I recommend doing here is jetting, descaling the cast iron, and a rescope to show that that was done thoroughly. You also want to rescope post repair, and you want to do that kind of scoping after the trench is closed, not after concrete's poured, but you do want to get the ground compacted, get it ready for concrete, so there's a load on top of the line to ensure that no settling has taken place again, so you don't have to go rip concrete up all over again. And then third, look into the Y connection, see if there's anything about that you should be concerned about. It's hard to say where it's coming from exactly without having some other access point to drop into here. It's kind of a puzzle, so city may have record of that. Otherwise, the rest of the line we scoped here appears to be in either good condition and or in fair condition for its age. The cast iron on the outside here where that drain ties in looks like it's in pretty decent shape. The cast iron going back into the house has got a lot more scale. You'll get a good look at the bare metal after that's been jetted out. Until that rust has been stripped off of it, it's hard to get a good look at it, but typically the cast iron from this era lasts for quite a long time and usually holds up well. And overall, the line is functioning, but it is draining slower than it should due to the belly, also partially due to the rust. I'm mostly referring to the belly as it sits right now. It's that slower drain that has the potential to lead to buildup and blockages. That's why I'm recommending the fix on it. If not fixed, again, I would definitely get the line cleaned either way. And then you're going to want to rescope the line at the 1 year mark. That's going to give you a baseline for how the line is handling your living habits. Obviously, you want to keep living like these people are. No grease going down the line. Cooking oil, wipes, paper towels, flushable wipes. Keep it to toilet paper. Stuff that disintegrates easily, and ideally you're folding your toilet paper, not balling it up. All those things can help mitigate buildup from occurring and help prevent the possibility of a blockage.